mission. Now, so you may ask, what type of student takes advantage of the MSU COM opportunity? Literally, the students come from all over the world, but of course, the vast majority will come from Michigan and the surrounding Midwest areas. And normally we have, prior to the pandemic, about 6,000 applications for 300 seats. Since the pandemic, which we had 8,130 applicants, we are currently still hovering around 8,000 applicants, and complete applications about 6,500, again, for 300 seats. And in terms of taking any evaluative measures and on what type of student will perform best at MSU COM, statistics have proven that the stellar 4.0, 528, 524, high five in the MCAT, that's not an indicator or predictor of an effective physician. I've been a part of a number of admissions committee decisions where a person literally, what comes to mind is an individual had a 3.91 GPA and a 521 MCAT, and a couple of the DOs said, okay, I would not want this person on my team. And it was based on the way they presented themselves in the application as well as their interview results. So the metrics that we see as a good sweet spot happens to be, when you round up, 3.6, 3.8 GPA, MCAT range are actually 506 to 508. But of course, that's not a standalone metric to prove success. We look at non-academic accomplishments as well to see what do you present as a total package? What is your commitment to service beyond the medical profession? How are you connected to the population that you serve if you are a primary care physician? What is your osteopathic interest? That's something you definitely want to convey artistically without, I guess, littering your application with a bunch of osteopathic past buzzwords and tenets. Shows your osteopathic interest without telling it. And that comes into line, falls in line with you basically describing who you are, introducing yourself to a bunch of individuals who don't know who you are and why you're passionate about medicine, and your interests and your individual idiosyncratic makeup will ideally align with patient care and osteopathic tenets. Also, we look for applicants that have demonstrated leadership, because regardless of the practice you have in medicine, whether it's a PCP or specialty or subspecialty, you're going to be a leader. It's just by default. It comes with the territory as a physician. We'll look at your ability to coalesce teams or work within a team. And definitely a priority for all individuals is to have some type of cultural competency or cultural awareness, so that you're not caught in that deer in the headlight syndrome where, okay, you may anticipate a communication barrier because you're dealing with someone that's different from yourself, and you're forgetting the priority at hand, which is preservation of life, healing, and things of that nature. So cultural awareness and cultural competency, it's definitely important. Now, in terms of the makeup or your selection, should you choose MSU COM, you're offered admission. Of course, there's one medical school, but there are 3 different sites in which you can do your pre-clerkship experience, your first couple of years. And the most salient differences happen to be with the East Lansing campus, which, one, it's the biggest campus, meaning of 300 seats that are offered, 200 will go to the East Lansing campus. So at any given time, you can have 200 first and second year students, 200 third and fourth year students. So for about 400, collectively. Now, what's particular about the East Lansing campus, if you are interested in research is your passion, and that you want to contribute to the medical field and patient care field. If that is the case and you want to participate in the DO PhD Physician Scientist Training Program with the dual degree program, you have to choose the East Lansing campus, because your principal investigator, your laboratories, your research, all will be conducted on the East Lansing campus. Now, if you're interested in sports medicine and the sports medicine elective, you have to choose the East Lansing campus because your clinical experience and clinical skills will be developed on the student athletes, which are all housed in East Lansing. But outside of that, if you're looking for a smaller setting or location that's more southeast in the state of Michigan, then the Detroit Medical Center, which is where I'm housed, or the Macomb University Center, which is a suburb of the DMC site, may be options for you. Each site takes in 50 students. So at any given time, you could possibly have 100 students at either site, 50 first and second year students and 50 third and fourth year students. Now, in terms of research is not exclusive only to East Lansing. Actually, some of the research that the DO PhD program undertakes is farmed out, for lack of a better word, to the other two sites, Macomb and DMC. But also there's no shortage of research opportunities from faculty members, and there will be a email portal or email address where you can actually decide what type of research projects you want to undertake and participate in. So the choice of sites, that happens once you're admitted, submit your enrollment deposit, then you can choose your first two options for a site. Now, your first couple of years, which I'm going to backtrack a little bit in terms of the evaluative process that the screening undergoes and the committee, they pay strong attention to the science curriculum. The science curriculum is, well, your overall curriculum is important as well, but definitely we look for individuals with a strong science curriculum, because the first couple of years, you definitely have a fire hose dose of your science courses. And if you have an opportunity to take anatomy, definitely that's going to put you at an advantage going into your first, second year. For the individuals who will be a part of the class of 2027, you will benefit from a recent change in the curriculum makeup, where the semester start is later in the summer. We used to start in June. Now we will start the second week in July. Courses are designed to be more synergistic, where you're not having to recall information that you studied 3 months ago. Now you have to apply it to foundational knowledge of systems and things of that nature. You'll get a continuous flow of osteopathic manipulative medicine. I believe it's 5 semesters of it, as well as osteopathic patient care or doctoring skills, so that's all reinforced on a continual basis. So, but long story short, you would definitely have a benefit with the revised curriculum, more time during the breaks, more time to allocate for research if you're choosing to do that. So it's even a better time to be a part of the MSU-Com family. What I like to say about the curriculum, which exists now and will be in the future, each class is embedded with information that will prepare you for your licensure examination. And there's like 3 sources you can prepare for your licensure examination. Is actually internal, a class that you can take to prepare you for your license examinations, a third party. Then there's also the MSU-Com family of students studying together to prepare for your licensure examinations. There's no shortage of opportunities to get you prepared for that, so that you can be a part of that 97, 98% first time pass rate. Now, during the pre-clerkship years, you also have an opportunity to hone your patient care skills and your clinical skills. Ideally, that's something we love to see applicants bring into their experience at MSU-Com. Ideally, direct patient care, but should you not have the opportunity, especially if you're a Canadian student, you don't always have the opportunity to partake in direct or clinical experience, especially shadowing and scribe work. But at East Campus, you have an opportunity to basically bridge the gap between marginalized populations, those who are uninsured, underinsured, maybe even distrustful of the healthcare community. You can participate in the student OMM clinic, which is student run and operated, scheduling, procedures, all done, carried out by the students under a DO or faculty member. Detroit Street Care, Spartan Street Medicine, Macomb Mobile Clinic, you're basically bringing healthcare out to the community. It might be a homeless shelter, might literally be individuals on the street, but it's a valued service that benefits all parties involved. And it doesn't just stop locally. We have a global outreach for clinical exposure and service, where throughout the world, different continents, you can participate in global outreach to bring education, supplies, medical care to populations that don't have access to that vital care, because healthcare is a premium. Or I should say they have access, but technically they do not, meaning there may be a village or a town where the nearest provider of healthcare is a 5-hour drive, but no one owns a vehicle, or it's a boat ride and no one owns a boat. So this is a valuable opportunity for you to provide an invaluable service, as well as hone your cultural awareness, cultural competency, because some of the same individuals where you will provide service, they will immigrate to the United States, and they don't just cut off their memory of healthcare and their cultural experiences with healthcare just because they're in the United States. So the global outreach opportunity prepares you in a number of ways to, as I said before, reinforce that cultural competency and cultural awareness. And the clinical outreach, global and local, you can take advantage of that your first year, should you choose to do so. And student life, basically student organization, student government, which is the pulse and the rudder of MSU-COM, basically directing the college on how you think optimal learning and an optimal learning environment will be for student success. You want to be a contributing member and participate in leadership opportunities, which is how the curriculum change came about. And unfortunately, with higher ed, especially with big institutions, change is slow, but this is precipitated from students voicing a concern about one, burnout and stress, two, wanting to have more opportunities to research and do other things. So that came from the voice of the students. So definitely get involved. There are over, I believe at last count, 40 different student organizations. If for some reason there's nothing that fancies your interest, you're by all means able to start another organization. And utilize student resources, because as you all already know, undertaking medical school is one of the most arduous process of any type of profession there is. Preparing for medical school, the application is almost a full-time job. And then once you're in medical school, individuals sometimes, as we glean from their application, are involved in traumatic situations, stressful situations, breadwinners. And when they come into medical school, those challenges don't disappear. It can only sometimes be exacerbated if they don't address these challenges. So we definitely offer wellness and counseling to all students, and it's a service available to students, staff, and faculty.
And then this one I didn't show you because this one would have hurt you.
Let me see.
And it may be something as little as having a period of time in which you decompress through meditation, or you might want to talk to a licensed counselor or a licensed psychologist to address your concerns. And definitely utilize academic advising, academic support. And when you participate in any of their information sessions, you will definitely hear a recurring theme. Please reach out to them if you think you are going to experience a academic challenge. Even if your progress seems to be, you seem to be doing well, but in your mind, you're anticipating you may be, you're anticipating doom and gloom, whatever the case may be. Seek out services. And I'm saying this to say, don't fall behind. Don't wait until you hit the wall or you run into an academic challenge before you reach out for help. Unfortunately, medical school is not a situation where an undergrad, okay, you can cram a few days, go without sleep and catch up. the train just keeps on moving. So your options are to sit out for a semester, recalibrate at the least. So you don't want to fall behind. We have peer mentors or big SIB programs where first-year students can get mentored by second-year students, and third-year second-year students can be mentored by third-year students, and that could be a number of ways. Just navigating your first year, how to allocate your time, how to work or engage with certain faculty members, or the Big SIB may be a content expert in certain curriculum, and they will assist in tutoring. So utilize wellness and counseling, and care team is something that the admissions committee preemptively notifies counseling faculty members if a student has exhibited on their application where they are currently in or just recently experienced a traumatic situation. We want to be on the lookout so that we can take note and be proactive so that challenges don't envelop or consume a particular student. Now, as I mentioned before, the DO PhD dual degree program, that's where you have to choose East Lansing campus. MSU Comps program is the largest DO program, DO PhD program in the nation, largest funded program in the nation as well. And of course, you definitely have to be built for research, meaning that's going to be your passion that you want to contribute to the field of medicine and patient care. So you're looking at 7 to 8 years to continue to complete the program. So actually, in terms of cost, the DO PhD program literally costs less than the standalone DO program, because the DO PhD is a heavily funded through scholarship opportunity, where 60% of the cost is through scholarship. So your first semester, you come in early in the summer, well, not early, you'll come in the summer, and you'll be given a $7,000 stipend. And the program is set up so that you're constantly merging, except for the first year, you'll do pure research, but subsequent years, you'll be merging research and patient care together so that your mind is never not addressing both. Because as a clinician, you may see something in patient care that you can pose is a challenge. You want to conduct research on that, or you're doing research and you see how that can contribute to patient care. So you're never isolated and separated from one or the other. Unlike the MD PhD program, it's set up on a 2-4-2, 2 years pre-clerkship, 4 years research, 2 years clinical rotations, but you're doing one or the other. You're not merging both. So it's almost like you do your first couple of years of pre-clerkship, then you do 4 years research and forget about your pre-clerkship, and then do 2 years of clinical rotations. Again, whereas MSU Com is designed for you to always have both hats working at the same time. The DO, and to select that DO PhD program, it's a matter of checking a box, and then a supplementary application will be available for you to complete, short supplementary application, and then the coordinator, Michelle Volker, will reach out to you. For the DO MBA program, dual degree program, if you're interested in aspects of leadership, hospital systems, hospital, or you want to reproduce a successful private practice, the Eli Broad world-renowned College of Business may be something for you, where that 5-year program encompasses medicine and the business side of medicine, so that you can utilize both leadership and business principles to be an administrator, or again, operate multiple practices. Now, with your clerkship curriculum, this is your opportunity to find out what you like and dislike about certain fields of medicine. You'll be exposed to a lot, of course, during your clinical rotations, but in Michigan, we have the advantage of the statewide campus system, which basically allows you to have a smorgasbord or plethora of options to choose where you want to do your clinical rotations based on interest and specialty. But it's not limited to Michigan. You can do your clinical rotations in another state, or if need be, or if you desire, it can be out of the country. But speaking solely for the Michigan clinical rotations, you see it's a highly populated area of hospitals, statewide hospitals in the southeast part of the state where it's more populated. And the further you go west, there are less hospitals that are proportionate to the population. And central part of the state, the northern part, and even in the upper peninsula, we have a resident in training right now. So besides that benefit, it's an opportunity for you to continue to build your resume, because unfortunately or fortunately, your whole tenure in medical school is building up your resume and your skill set to match. And during your clinical rotations is an excellent opportunity to build positive relationships, learn as much as you can. Even if you don't choose one of the base hospitals in Michigan as your place to do your residency, the administrators, clinicians that work at these hospitals communicate with others throughout the nation. It's a small population in the medical field. So if they're talking about you, you want them to talk good things about you. So make this experience a good experience for all parties involved, yourself, of course. And then for those that you're working with, they can say positive things about you so that you can be a part of the proud match rate that MSU-Com boasts for the last several years. I think for at least the last 7 years, 99% match rate. And for the last cycle or graduates, in December, we had 295 graduates, 291 matched. And of the 4 that did not match, they fall in the category of the dual degree students, where they're not graduating because they are still completing their degree. And the specialties run the range. There's 22 listed here, but that is not, it's not exhaustive. It does not encompass all specialties that students seek out. And a common question that's asked, if I want to go into cardiology, can I do that? Of course, yes, you can. If it's not there, it does not mean that you're excluded from that as a DO. As you can see, individuals take residencies all over the state, all over the country, that is, which is why I said you want to put your best foot forward during your clinical rotations, so that along with your body of work, someone can say something good about you as well. And just breaking down these statistics a little bit further, in conclusion, with the international population, we have 18 students that will do their residency training in the United States. 51% will do their programs or train in a statewide campus hospital system. 100% military match rate, proud of that. 43% will go into some field of primary care, and 76% will stay in Michigan to do their residency training. That says a lot, especially for individuals who come from California and Hawaii. And that actually concludes my presentation. If there are questions, there's a couple of routes you can go. Of course, you can scour the website, but if you have a general question, you can go to com.admissions@msu.edu. And if the question cannot be answered, that's a live monitored email daily. If the question cannot be answered there, then the question will be filtered to myself or a colleague or the appropriate department to follow up or answer a question or set up a meeting. With that, what kind of questions can I answer for anyone?
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Any questions?
Great, have a good night. Take care. No, actually, this will give me an opportunity just to speak a little bit about the culture. This is, granted, I've only been here since January 20th, 2020, right before the pandemic. But in terms of I know in the vision statement, being able to provide patient care for all individuals, literally, can't say it any better, all individuals, which means you have to be an inclusive person. And I remember an incident where the admissions committee had offered a seat to a student, and through social media, it was shortly after the murder of George Floyd. And this particular student said some disparaging remarks across the barrier to address all populations, all ethnics. and it was insulting, rather disgusting. And of course, when it's on social media, it's for everyone to see. And the discussion came from that to, okay, let's rescind the offer, let this person think about what they did, reevaluate them later in a subsequent year. Anyway, when that time came up, students, staff, and faculty made it loud and clear. Okay, if MSU admits this student, you do not uphold what you preached to espouse. And this is unheard of, where one tenured faculty say, okay, I'm leaving if this person is admitted. And it's unheard of for students already in medical school to say, okay, I'm leaving MSU to go someplace else, you let the student in. But that was the type of MSU family that exists. And that was, it wasn't refreshing that this person expressed these remarks, but it was refreshing to know that that's how individuals stood up to protect the reputation and the learning environment and the mental sanctity of individuals who learn in this community. So, and then also on another note, just from working at other colleges with a medical school, sadly to say, the environment can be rather toxic, meaning students feel as though if I help my fellow student, it's going to be at the peril or expense to my ability to match or my ability to progress. That's the furthest from the truth. I don't understand, why would you want your not want your college to do well, because your medical school will do well and the numbers will boast and show that, but that's not the case here at MSU. I have not experienced that or noticed that. So I've rattled enough. Any questions? I think there's some in the chat. I didn't look.
Yes, I can read them to you. So the first one is asking, do the DO students take the USMLE?
They used to frequently do that, yes, and pass both. With the merger of and I'm talking out of my lane now, with the residency programs, it's not much differentiation between the two. So it'll happen less. But to answer your question, yes, DO students do take USLME.
Yes, and as a third-year student, I can tell you guys that I know a lot of students who didn't, and also know a lot of students who did. But as Mr. Boyd pointed out, less and less students burden themselves with that. And actually, what we see is there's a shift now in students taking more so USMLE step 2 if they do take a USMLE exam, because step 1 is now pass or fail, and a lot of people feel like it's just not worth the trouble, which is a very fair assumption, even though we haven't seen the match rate of people who started taking the boards when they became pass or fail, which is my generation. So 2024 will tell us, but you have a good number of people who do and don't take the USMLE. And then next question is, what percentage of students are residents of Michigan?
You're looking at approximately 65 to 70% are Michigan residents, with the other 30 being international and out of state. But that number is actually, when I say shrinking, I'm certain it won't be below 60% for Michigan residents, but the out-of-state tuition has been lowered, so we're expecting to have an uptick in out-of-state applications. But as it stands right now, close to about 70% are in-state students.
Yes, and I can attest of that. I'm an international student, so I'm originally from Cameroon. I'm a citizen of Cameroon. And then I did my undergrad in Maryland. So I went to University of Maryland for undergrad right after coming to the States. And then now I'm here. And I got admitted in August of the year where I applied. So yeah, they're very open to out-of-state students and international students. Okay, next question is, how do admissions view non-traditional students, whether career changers or students who've done post-bacs or master's programs? Do y'all do a holistic approach? Is your GPA cutoff at 3.5 minimum?
Well, the approach that MSUCOM takes for non-traditional students is embracing, welcoming approach. It brings a different perspective to medicine from a different experiential viewpoint. You're not at a disadvantage as a non-traditional student at all. And in terms of the holistic view, MSUCOM looks at you in your totality, meaning, of course, metrics are important, GPA and MCAT, and know that 3.5 is not a cutoff where if you don't have that, you're excluded. We do look for a balanced approach with your application, meaning you have respectable metrics. And when I'm speaking about the metrics, unfortunately, I have to emphasize the MCAT because unlike standardized tests, ACT and SAT, where it's proven they don't have any indicators of success in undergraduate education, the MCAT has been used to determine the success and passing that licensure examination on your first attempt. And you get down to that, below that, when that 10 percentile range, or basically start hoping around that 500 and less, it's a strong predictor that's a situation where the person not going to pass that exam on the first attempt. And it's a risk that the committee does not want to take because it's an incredibly expensive risk for a student to undertake this arduous start. And unfortunately, that might be that all of it is, it's a start, and then you're burdened with this debt and you don't progress. So an incredibly low MCAT can put you at a disadvantage. We definitely want to look for opportunities where you have a strong curriculum, which does not mean you can overcome a MCAT deficit. But again, we look for good aspects in all areas of the application, diverse clinical skill experiences, leadership, community service, volunteerism, exposure to populations different from yourself, experience with different physicians in different fields of practice. As a bonus, being able to articulate in the application that you, well, a must is articulating in the application your passion for patient care and that you are looking to do this for the rest of your career. And honestly, I mean, to be a physician, you definitely have to be built for it. And obviously you are at this stage, but unfortunately physicians suffer from burnout and some call it quits after 5 years. So it's probably a challenge to detect that in the application. And that's not going to be a situation where committee members say, okay, I don't think this person's going to be in for the long run. If you have the metrics, the experiences, you articulate your passion for patient care. And as I said earlier, before you give any personal or your idiosyncratic makeup, that kind of aligns with osteopathic patient care, that's a bonus, that's great. Because the lines can definitely be blurred between allopathic and osteopathic in terms of what you can do, because each can do the same thing, except, and this is from Craig Boyd, a DO can do what an MD does, but an MD can't do what a DO does if you just look at the sole aspect of osteopathic manipulative medicine. But I know from the curriculum MSUCOM teaches, especially osteopathic patient care, it's that doctoring skills, that communication, that approach to patient care that's taught. I think that's so valuable. And I don't know if I answered your question. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent. You know, what was the question?
I can speak a little bit to the non-traditional student part.
Thank you, Sasha.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I graduated undergrad in 2018. And then I went on to get a certificate after that. And then I went and got I started my master's like towards the end of 2020. And the reason I went that route was because I wasn't the strongest student in undergrad. So I kind of did more of building my academic part of my application during that route. But on the other hand, I can say that I had the extracurriculars, I had the medical experience. And so I like to think that MSUCOM does a more holistic approach when reviewing an application. I did improve academically, but the leadership that I got, and sorry, my puppy is being a puppy. But I did have the leadership, I did have the organization experience and things like that, that also helped me become a well-rounded applicant. And also I was a two-time applicant, and I could tell people that there's a big difference between my first application to my second application. My passion was definitely more prominent. I did more working as a scribe and working with different doctors and things like that to just kind of figure out, okay, I know I want to be a doctor, but why? And my personal statement definitely showed that taking the non-traditional route, even if you do have above a 3.0, sometimes taking that non-traditional route, just taking a couple more extra classes and just like finding that passion is also very beneficial. In my opinion, I am all for taking gap years. I'm 27 now, and I'm very happy that I waited, that I didn't go in at 23. I feel more prepared for med school now than I did at that time. So I think COM is very holistic in their approach to accepting students.
Thank you for that. You reminded me what else I was supposed to be answering. Yeah, the post-baccalaureate and the master's program. Definitely some people do it for their own benefit, to get the mind recalibrated for medical school. Others do it to rehabilitate the grade point average, but that is definitely a good route to go. You don't necessarily have to get a master's degree or a post-baccalaureate degree or second degree. If you have anywhere from 16 to 32 credits in the core sciences, ideally upper level science, you demonstrated command in that, that's good. That's good. And like Sasha said, gap year is definitely good, especially if it's intentional, where you're looking to either enhance your clinical skills, I don't know, broaden your cultural awareness, study and prepare for the MCAT, but ideally want to be intentional.
I have a question. Thank you so much for your presentation. I saw where you mentioned about the mobile outreach clinic that you have and the other community outreach programs. Are these things that are worked in the curriculum, or do students have to apply or take part in these things at their leisure?
Just one moment. I was actually looking for my volume because I didn't hear. Okay, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that portion of your question? Your question again? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thank you. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. I was asking in reference to the you included in your presentation the mobile outreach clinic and a few community outreach programs that medical students participate in. And I wanted to ask if these were programs that were worked into the curriculum, or do students participate in these at their leisure, or is it application based, or how do those work at your school?
It's at your leisure and it's coordinated, and please, Sasha or Paola, anyone can chime in, but it's at your leisure that you can participate. And if I'm not mistaken, it's first come, first serve, because I think students want to take advantage of that. And you work it around, of course, your priority, which will be your education. But to answer your question, it's at your leisure. It's not a requirement. Yeah, of course, it will help with, part of that matching process. But you work in coordination with the department that handles that, your academic advisor. Nothing will be willy-nilly or a surprise. I think this may be for most medical schools. Everything you need to know is going to be, you're going to know that. It's a matter of time management and how to prepare for things going forward. Because no medical school, at least MSUCOM, doesn't want you to be prepared for everything. So I don't think you'll get any pop tests, pop quiz, anything like that. So I hope I answered your question.
You did. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I would just like to add to that effect that, yes, I was part of two of those. I was part of Detroit Street Care because I live in Detroit. And then we went down to the streets, actually. Like we would pack up food and some band-aids and things like that, and then go down to the street, distribute the food or the drinks that we have, and then see if people need anything that we can give. We gave out syringes, we gave out band-aids or bandages or things like that, like, you know, little small medical necessities if people needed them. And then the other organization was Pattern Straight Medicine, which is actually based in East Lansing. And that was all virtual at the time. It should still be virtual, but we would go and see patients virtually at homeless shelters. So we had days of the week, like I think they have Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, something like that, where they rotate between homeless shelters, and then you will see the patients online and try to help them the best you can, like refilling medication, refilling prescriptions, and things like that. On to the next question, Mr. Boyd, this one is for you. A student is asking if you could give your, oh, you saw that, okay. All right. And yes, any other question?
Paola, I actually have a question for you. I am currently a student in Detroit who started a smaller organization that's targeting Black communities and preventative cardiovascular disease prevention and tabling and awareness. And I was definitely hoping to partner with residents at MSU, but I wasn't aware that Detroit Street Fair was a thing. So in your experience with that, did you do that while you were in medical school, or did you carry that with you into medical school and it's something you started before?
No, it was already there. I came, I joined it. It's a student organization. So I just came, joined the organization once or twice a month. I don't remember how often. They'll send out an email and say, hey, if you want to do this, please sign up here. And they'll send you a link and you just sign up and you'll get the location and you show up. And then they'll let you know what to do. And that's it. That's how all of them work, really. They just send you a link and you sign up for it. And as Mr. Boyd mentioned, you have to sign up fast because everybody loves this. So yeah, and they only have like, you know, maybe 10, 20 spots at a time. So
Perfect. Thank you.
but congratulations on starting that up. That sounds great, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely would love to partner with some of you guys and see how it can be a collaborative thing. So that's really exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll put my email in the chat later, so feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
And then next question is, how often do people get their choice of educational sites, Detroit versus East Lansing versus Macomb?
How often?
I was,
I'm sorry.
no, you go ahead. I was going to expound on what I was saying in the chat, but you
Please
know
do.
more about how often.
Well, in short, you get one opportunity to provide your first two choices. And FYI, the Detroit site fills up quicker than the other sites. But if you don't get your first choice, you will be placing your second option. Subsequent to that, you can transfer if it's an opening, or in the case of Detroit, if someone, if a spot opens up at the Detroit site, you'll be taken off the waiting list. But yeah, a waiting list will generate, and it's based on the first person who was added to the waiting list. That's will be given an opportunity. But once you're admitted and submit your enrollment deposit, that's when you make your selection.
Yeah, I was going to say when I initially got accepted, I was accepted like later in March of last year, and Macomb and East Lansing were the only two sites open. Like Mr. Boyd said, DMC is very popular, so it fills up like within the fall, I want to say. So DMC was my second choice. Macomb was my first. Well, DMC was my first choice. Macomb was my second choice. I had moved out here and everything, and a spot at DMC opened. So like I live actually by the Macomb campus and I commute to DMC when I have to go to campus. But actually when I switched to DMC, another one of my classmates also same day got the email that a spot open. So very often, you know, as people here, they get accepted somewhere else, they withdraw their acceptance and then a spot opens and then they just move down the line. And it can happen quick and they give you like a day or two to switch. But yeah, it just really depends on when you get accepted too, I think.
True.
Any other question?
And just to add about site selection, when you embarking upon your clinical rotations, you think you list your top 3, because you're in that now, Paola. I mean, you list your top 3 choices, top 4 choices. Rare that you don't get an option of the top 3 choices. It's rare an opportunity where an individual cannot go where they want to be, since there's so many options. But that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, so yes, when it comes to clinical sites, there's so many options. And as you guys saw, most of them are around the Detroit area. So you will always get something. For example, where I live, I probably have at least 10 hospitals within a 20 miles radius of me. So wherever I got, really, I could go. But I did get my actually 4th option out of the 24 options that we have. And I'm very happy with that because, again, as I said, everything is close to me. I live in Midtown Detroit and I could have gone either way, really. So that was fine. But I just listed them by location, really, because that was the most important for me. And I actually want to add that since we're on the topic, EL gives you the advantage, as East Lansing gives you the advantage of, you know, it's a big campus. Research, obviously, that's where you're going to find the biggest academic opportunities because it's a big campus. That's just what it is. But the advantage with Detroit and Macomb is that you get all the clinical. Again, this area is packed with hospitals. I got my research opportunity. So I wanted a research opportunity really bad. So obviously I looked at East Lansing, but the distance is about an hour and a half. So what I did is I emailed some doctors in the area and was like, hey, and I know a lot of people who did this, by the way. I wasn't just lucky. It's like, hey, you know, my name is this, and I'm really trying to get into research, blah, blah, blah. And somebody said, yeah, sure. And that was it. And I got a paper published just like that. And it only took like what? It took me like a little less than a month to find somebody. I feel like, I don't remember exactly. And then it took me, within a year, I had a publication in hand. So you have so many hospitals around the area that sure, you're not gonna get your hands wet in a lab, but you can always get research opportunities around here as well. And also clinical opportunities if you're into that kind of thing. Anything else?
Could you run through a typical day of being like a medical student between classes and studying?
Sasha, that's one for you.
Yeah, so let's see, a typical day. So one of the things I heard coming in is that, you know, you kind of treat school like a 9 to 5. So like between the hours of 9 to 5, you usually will have lectures. They may be live, they may be pre-recorded. You kind of can do it up to you. A lot of times I choose to just watch lectures later because they're at 8 a.m. and I'm not a morning person. So a lot of times I'll choose to like maybe watch the previous day's lectures that morning and then maybe go to lab if I have lab that day or OMM lab or whatever need be. And then, you know, I'll come home, I'll feed my pets, eat dinner myself, chill a little bit, and then I'll start studying for the night and do anywhere from 4 hours to an all-nighter, depending on if I have an exam coming up. That's pretty much it. And you kind of just fill in the gaps there, just depending on like what the day looks like or what the week looks like. So me being at DMC, most professors teach from East Lansing. So I could be at home watching lecture on Zoom if I decide to go live, or you can go to campus and watch within the classroom if you want to do that, if you like that feel. But very rare you're going to have a professor like at DMC or Macomb teaching unless they live in the area. And then like if you choose to do like street care or anything like that, sometimes, you know, you might do a street run on a random Thursday if you sign up. I'm like signed up for this Saturday actually for a street run. And you'll have meetings too. So the weeks can get busy. So you really have to like have a good idea of how your time management skills lay out and like what kind of studier you are. If you're a night person, if you're a morning person. Like I said, I'm not a morning person, so I tend to roll out of bed about 9 a.m., get my day started, and I'll probably go to bed about midnight. You know, toss in the gym in there if you like to work out. But that's really it. A lot of times it really just feels like I'm running around with my head cut off. But it's fun regardless. I love it. I actually just had O&M lab and at DMC, at all the campuses too, you're in pods and groups. So like you're never really with everyone at the same time. So like today I had O&M lab at 3 and half of my classes at DMC were at 1:30. So, and last semester I was at 1:30. So like it switches. So like your schedule is never really consistent either from semester to semester, even week to week. So staying on top of like the calendar they give you is also very beneficial just to know what's going on because things will change. They can one day class can be on Zoom and then they're like, oh, you know, last minute change, I pre-recorded it, watch it later, you know. So getting an idea of how you manage your time and how you like to study and where you like to study is very big on just managing your days. It gets hectic.
Yes, I do want to add that that was one of the biggest things that really attracted me to MSU is that you don't have the she said it's a little bit like a 9 to 5. I wouldn't call it that. You don't have that 9 to 5 job feeling at MSU You really manage your time the way you like it. This is like the Instagram work from home thing going on. Like we have about, I would say less than 5 hours of mandatory things that you have to do per week, whether it's some class that you have to go to. Like we have 1 hour of OMM, 1 hour of OP, maybe 2 hours of OMM. I don't remember. We have, let's say 3 hours of OMM, which is osteopathic manipulative medicine, and then maybe 2 hours of OPC, which is osteopathic patient care. That's the class where they teach you how to do the physical exam and how to interview the patient and things like that. And then maybe 1 hour of something else in the week, some group work or whatever, and that's it. Your however many hundreds of hours there are in a week, the rest of that, that's on you. So you decide how you want to use that time, and that works great for me. And you know, I see how it works great for Sasha too, because I like to do things on my own time. And yeah, I was happy to get those opportunities here.
Definitely. That was also something I love, like going to these type of things with current students, just hearing that you can just watch a lecture when you feel like it. Don't get me wrong, the professors, you know, sometimes their feelings get hurt when no one shows up. But like me personally, I drive 40 minutes to DMC when I have to. So I don't want to go sometimes. Like, but and also like during the summertime, I think I spent the most time on campus between summer and fall semester. And so far with this semester, I'm going to campus once a week, and that's for O&M lab and OPC if I have to.
All right, anything else? We have 4 more minutes, just time to squeeze in 1 or 2 more. Well, with our last few minutes, I actually want to just touch on the topic of osteopathic manipulative medicine, because that's always something people ask about. So, Mr. Boyd, would you mind educating us on the topic? And also Sasha?
Yeah, oftentimes I like to say the most salient part is the approach to patient care. The given is learning osteopathic manipulative medicine, which is a great stopgap to individuals who are averse of prescription drugs like myself, or invasive surgeries, but allowing the patient to have a voice and partnering in allowing the patient to partner in their care, which means, again, having a very, very effective communication skills and empowering your patient. I guess I can speak from my own personal example of, let me do it real quick. I'm not disparaging allopathic physicians, but I've been plagued with headaches since I was 5, and the allopathic doctor, there was family PCP, I told him about the headaches. He prescribed Tylenol, told me to take Tylenol. Year later, still the same thing. Take Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol. Then I was more athletic and active, so I'll make certain movements with my head, and that would exacerbate or trigger a headache. And I told him that. He told me, okay, don't make any sudden movements with your head. And I'm like, okay, this dude is not doing me any good at all. So I switched, I left him. And I discovered osteopathic medicine, and instantly the line of questioning, which surprised me. I thought it was intrusive because I just wasn't used to it. They started asking me about my family history and my relationship with my parents and my mother. In my mind, I'm like, it's none of your business, But they were trying to get at the root of the problem. Where are these headaches coming from? Are they self-inflicted? Is it from unresolved trauma? Is it something I'm recalling? It's just something that never had been addressed before in my dealings with allopathic physicians. And there was a prescription of natural supplements, that did do lessen the frequency of headaches that I used to get, which used to be every day. So the approach to patient care, finding out what I want, what I did not want, which was I didn't want to use prescription drugs if I didn't have to. And they took that in consideration. So the explaining and taking the time, I really, really appreciated that. And I think it's literally from the approach that osteopathologists go about teaching physicians, because you can be a brilliant physician, you can diagnose, give a prognosis, but if I don't know what you're talking about and you're speaking above my head or not even looking at me, in my mind, okay, I'm not going to give you a complete history because I don't trust you. And I'm thinking my health is not your priority. So eventually I'm just going to leave out whatever you give me a suggestion. I'm not going to comply with it. I want to seek out another doctor. So if I'm answering the question, again, approach to patient care is definitely different with osteopathic medicine, showing that you're empathetic naturally, just something as little as leaning in to a person when you're listening to them. So again, I place a strong emphasis on communication. I think that's definitely important, which again belies why we don't look for that 4.0 and 528, whatever. You still can do more harm than good. Just because you have great metrics doesn't mean you're going to be an effective physician. I talked enough, so I'll let, if Sasha's still on here.
Oh yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I'll add to that as a student, like MSU-Com had always been my first choice. I loved the people that I met as an undergrad and the mission and vision and things like that. And now as a student, like the professors really do take the looking at the person as a whole tenet, like personally. We take a lot of time learning about genetics or things like that because that plays a role into what a patient could be experiencing. In OMM, for example, today actually we were talking about treating ribs, and our professor was like, sometimes you'll get a patient. Actually, I was watching the lecture earlier, and she was giving an example of a patient who was having chest pain, and that patient was having abnormalities on their EKG and things like that, and we're in the ER and seeing different doctors, cardiologists and such, and they kept getting told like, oh, well, we don't know what's going on. Your hormone levels are fine. We don't know why your EKG is abnormal. And then a resident who happened to be an alumni of MSU-Com did OMM on them, and pain was alleviated. And she was explaining the importance of looking at more than just what the symptoms are being presented as, because a lot of times those symptoms could be alleviated with just a simple technique of musculoskeletal release and things like that. And the empathy part too, like, you know, you'll for OPCR doctor in class, like, yes, we're learning how to use a stethoscope and how to use all of our tools and things like that. But we're also required to go, like tomorrow we have a clinical workshop on feedback and how to take constructive criticism. Last semester, we had these workshops on empathy and how to talk to a patient. In our neuro course, currently, we have these patient presentations every Friday, and our professors who are neurologists are very big on teaching us how to communicate with our patients, you know, what the findings are and what's actually going on versus just telling them these scientific words, like teaching us the importance of coming to their level and educating them at their level. MSUCOM, they take those tenets personally, and they want to make sure that we also take them personally. So I love it. I can't wait to get out there and actually start practicing.
All right, and it is 6:03. So on that note, I would like to thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you for all the great questions, and I hope you guys learned a lot. And yeah, we'll be looking out for more MSUcom stuff. Next week, we are going to move on to the second part of this series. So please keep coming. And yes, thank you, Mr. Boyd, for coming. And thank you, Sasha, for helping out tonight. And good night, everyone.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, Paula. You'll have a great, I wish you all the best. So.
Yep. Good night. Good luck.
Just a quick question. How do we get information for next week?
It should be on social media or emails. However you learned about the first meeting, you will find information about the second meeting. Did you get an email?
Someone actually just sent me a screenshot. They knew I was interested in osteopathic medicine. So they just sent me a screenshot of the flyer, but I'll go on your guys' Instagram and keep up with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you go to MSUcom, MSUcom SNMA, they posted the series there, or SNMA Region 5, they posted it on that Instagram page as well.
Yeah, and also on the SNMA Maps National, it's also on that page. And I'm going to keep sending out emails, so be on the lookout for that through your Maps chapter email, like Maps president email, I guess.
Okay. And how do I add my email? I just go to the website and add my email to like the list of people who get out the emails, because I'm not a Michigan State student. I went to UMD. So.
Oh, it's open to all Maps chapters. Like I've been sending out the emails to all Maps chapters, like across the nation. So it should have reached. Well, I don't know if the emails that we have are for the president or for the e-board only. And if the e-board passes it on to the members, that I don't know.
Okay, thank you. I'll figure it out. But thank you guys so much.
All right. Well,
You're
please
welcome.
ask your board members to share the emails with you guys.
Quick question as well. I don't know if you guys have an extra second. If you need to go, that's totally fine.
I do have some time.
Okay. I'll make it kind of quick. For your admissions, when you guys like were applying, as far as like writing all the things, right? There's just a lot of writing. I'm just like a little between like what writing to do first. Like, of course, there's the AAMC prompt, like why you want to be a doctor, but then MSU has like specific secondaries that I know you're supposed to write a little bit closer to like when you receive them, write them a day or two after. But how did you guys approach like the writing for the entrance of it? Like, did you do it all at once or?
Application cycle was awful. And I don't, since I just did it last year, 2021 is when I applied. I probably remember a little bit more. I wrote, because I apply AMCAS and A commas. So I wrote my personal statement. My personal statement for my why, it was a more like, I didn't change anything. Like I submitted the same one actually for AMCAS and ACOMs. I didn't mention anything about osteopathic versus
Gotcha.
allopathic, because your personal statement is, why do you want to be a doctor? You know,
Right.
not why do you want to be an osteopathic.
Wait, you're gone. Okay.
That was, my dog just like whacked my arm. But your personal statement is your why. Like, why do you want to be a doctor? So I just wrote my personal statement, and you know, that was that. I had my mom literally edit everything. And then when it came to the secondaries, I didn't pre-write personally. That's a, you know, choose your own journey with that one. I was not about to stress myself out, and I didn't even know what secondaries I was getting. I ended up getting secondaries for half of the schools I applied to, but whatever.
Did you apply to
I
over
took-
10 when you say half,
yeah.
but under 15?
No. I actually submitted 40 primaries.
Wait, what did you just say?
Yeah, I submitted 40 primaries. Listen, don't be like me. Yeah, don't be like me. I spent a lot of money, but it's fine. I submitted 40 primaries, and then I got 25 secondaries back and ended up only submitting 20 because at that point I was just tired of writing. I actually, yeah, in 2021, all of the questions that the schools were asking were just like, I got to one school and I was just like, I'm not even interested in answering this question. So I just didn't do that secondary. But what I did do is that I wrote secondaries for the schools that I was that I knew that if I got accepted, I would go there. So I wrote those secondaries first as they came in, because I felt more passion towards those schools.
Yeah.
And then what ended up happening is that, okay, the schools that were kind of like, okay, like I applied.